The most dangerous property of these books is the fact that they follow a fixed linear path. You can't control their narratives in any fashion, you simply sit back and have the story dictated to you. Why would anyone want to embark on an adventure utterly choreographed by another person? Steve Johnson, Everything Bad is Good for You.
Stevie Johnson must have hated the river minigame in Purpals. It's not one for the free thinkers.
Books! They're snooty girls from high school pointing down control freaks. How dare you have any influence over anything? These things confine one's mind to pre-written narratives, and as a gamer, I just can't live without blowing. It's an essential input to any real narrative. I'm in the wrong industry. Indulging in fiction this way is the storytelling equivalent of using a public bathroom. It's doable, but feels disgusting and grimy. Give yourself some worth. Trust your own direction. I'm gonna take a shower now. I just need to clean up a bit. You know the 5-second rule? Loves collaborating with paper rectangles.
Yo, what are you saying, my G?
I didn't know Limescale could grow to be feral. I guess if it was to happen anywhere, it would be here in Gillingham Towers, because there is no way you are the result of ethics or morals.
So, seen any movies lately?
Do unskippable tutorial cutscenes count?
You are the epitome of loneliness.
You are projecting.
Is that what you tell the mirror?
Yeah, because that's where Limescale grows.
Yo, I am so sorry for what I said. You're like the first version to get gonorrhea living in a crevice like this.
Do you want to meet arthritis so I can boot up Mario Paint? That mouse is a strain on the wrist.
My point stands.
So, Limescale, what are your thoughts on books?
They make terrible video games.
See, I prefer you disagree with me so my opinion doesn't align with toilet-bred bacteria. But that's a start in getting to know each other. You can read!
I don't know how when I learnt from this thing with something foul inside of it. I'm talking reverse exorcism type beat.
What does that imply?
It implies that your ancestors were happier at a time without touch generations.
You know, my family is a product of healthy, age-appropriate outsourcing with only as much physicality as needed within the same generation.
You really don't get it, do you? They're not even games, they're just...
eBooks, literary bliss, has never been more accessible. Before computers could digitize letters, if I wanted novels in mass, the best I could do is sit in the bread aisle and compare nutritional facts. I might prefer my stories with a bit of involvement, but I gotta give it to eBooks, they're neat. I appreciate that it's easier to pick out specific pages, search for keywords, and reformat text to be easier on the eyes compared to traditional books. It's not my way to consume media, but I'm incredibly grateful the modern experience is so configurable and approachable thanks to devices like the Kindle. Before dedicated e-readers hit the mainstream, your best alternatives to a good story were either wiping your arse with sandpaper or the anti-book. I didn't say it was good for you, but it's a good story for the grandkids.
Ebooks started becoming a serious avenue for book publishers when video game consoles, particularly from Nintendo, started targeting a casual audience. The Nintendo DS and Wii to that extent were really just multimedia devices trying to innovate beyond the expected. Just because they didn't play DVDs like the competitors didn't mean they were strictly gaming devices.
They are, though. I find it hard to imagine what literate child is hiding under the bedsheets at night, quivering at the thought of their parents finding them on the DS reading Macbeth.
Like, yeah, okay, there's Wii Sports, unconventional but a game at core. There's also brain trading, something that requires thought and skill. Two traits that are quintessential to define a video game despite appealing to the pensioners with less teeth than the cartridge they're playing on. But nobody, not a soul, ever has thought,
Shakespeare needs a competitive scene.
The first notable remix dictionary to release on the Nintendo DS was the 100 Classic Book Collection. Offering authentic reproductions of every work included, it's a useful application to learn about literacy from a time before Wario existed.
External heat and cold had little influence on Scrooge. No warmth could warm, no wintry weather chill him. No winds that blew was bitterer than he.
Time is a flat circle. So, story-wise, this game is a bit convoluted with over 100 branching paths, but if you can focus on each of them in isolation, yeah, they're alright. Over in Europe, works from British authors are borderline all you can eat, whilst America is only getting value meals out of those same authors. Naturally, these are substituted with novels from the native creatures of the United States over there, but this leaves iconic omissions between regions, which is perplexing when all of the material is in the public domain. Why not include everything? Not only is more content just good, but there's greater value in the cultural exchange of literacy works. Why is Europe forbidden from reading The Time Machine? If I had a time machine, I'd teach Victorians how to format a PDF correctly.
I don't get why it matters though. Who looked at a book and thought, you know what I need? 100 of these. On hand, right now, barely readable on an illuminated 240p beta box from Mice.
It'd be a good way to pass time on a train ride or after a spelunking accident.
Just carry one book. Unless you're stuck in Milton Keynes, there's no way you're getting through to a second one of these before you're back in civilization.
Not with that attitude.
When you're translating media to another format, make it f***ing worth it, otherwise you might as well be reading the book through the damned 3DS camera. Yo, they ported GTA to this bitch.
Wow, bookmarks. Wow, a chapter select. You tell me how that's worth putting a book on a food stamp.
They may not be revolutions, but they're more efficient and less cumbersome than the physical equivalents by only being a few taps at all.
Maybe if you're wearing latex gloves. That's the only way I can imagine being slower. But I have 2 unrestricted, usable hands. If you can't manage that, that's just a skill issue.
And for those who are impaired, ebooks are your answer.
You know they didn't develop this with disabilities in mind.
Oh, of course they didn't.
There's text scaling options, which I wanted to say make the books more legible, but honestly, not really. Now it's just convoluted that you need to scroll more and the page count isn't consistent, so when Lil Jimmy is on the schoolyard boasting to the mandem about all the action on page 74 of Othello, Little Bimmy is going to be on a misaligned page when he gets home and the fonts don't match. But that's because Bimmy is playing an actual video game instead. And background sounds, a couple of music tracks, more than a handful of ambient sounds, but personally I like to skip the middleman and read books to the real life sounds of a running tap. There's just something more relaxing about the sound being tangible, you know.
There's a little personality quiz to help figure out which book from the library is best suited to you.
Maybe I'll take a BuzzFeed quiz to find out which animal's arsehole I'd spew from.
There's summaries of the books and the authors as bonus content.
How do you have the energy to talk about such pointless fragments of mind-occupying amoeba?
You are literally coping and seething over a book, a fictional story, which has little to no impact on your life, being put on an outdated video game system. I've been very copious at things I've played in the past, but emphasis on played, interacted with, and I've rambled about them for a long time. But you are literally getting angry at a collection of books.
It was pointless trying to express myself. Nothing I can say will make you understand. Nothing I could possibly do will reflect how truly I feel about this.
No!
I'll just have to show you then, won't I?
This used to be my gaff before I was stuck living in your walls. Got a bit overgrown without me here to take care of things. Your walls are really thin, by the way. If you want to play something other than Donkey Kong, those games do exist.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's kind of just a family business. They offload it onto me and we're just kind of obliged to. Anyway, this isn't time for talking about me. It's about you! Why are we here again? Said something that's, like, foul.
You'll curse us both. No problem there.
Go on, pussy.
Nothing happens!
It's a slumber. You have to put it in the DS to awaken it.
Well, don't turn the DS on!
So far, we've basically spent 8 minutes debating on if the Nintendo DS is a good home for the novels of authors like Shakespeare and video game novelties like the Mario Bros to live under one roof.
It's not.
But our prodding and laughing aside, I don't need to summarize an ebook, you know what letters taste like. The verdict is that they don't like shared accommodation. So hey, get the bailiff involved and replace the tenant. Let's take out the Nintendo certified collection and try something different. something that's still an ebook, but presents a mirage of a video game. Ugh, 'tis foul.
You're a disgrace.
I'm trying to be humble about it.
Here's the cartridge that haunts my forest, a collection of Artemis Fowl books, children's literature grown from a petri dish of mould, mud and the fantasy genre. Not that I care to check whether or not these stories are actually good or not, because it's riddled with typos, so why should I give this game any respect when the developers didn't care themselves? It's all just a cover-up to let a cryptid free in my forest. See that? Typos. This was meant to teach you basic reading comprehension, there wouldn't be any. It's a cover-up, I'm telling you.
You're delusional! A cover-up for what? I wasn't talking!
See that? That's an incantation. That's a cryptid spell.
Let me get this straight. Because this game has a couple of typos and some silly little symbols, you, high shoulder rat lookalike thing, think this game is hiding something.
Standards are low when spelling words correctly is the bare minimum you'd expect from an ebook, but in place of consideration is a lot of features that justify this story being translated into an ebook. The US Constitution would benefit from a similar modernization. Throughout the books, you'll find post-it notes with glorified wingdings, some kind of language in the lore of Bartholomew Fowl. Tabbing them gradually translates what's a piece of original side content known as the collection, which basically adds to the lore of this world.
Yes, because I love when a book I'm reading has text in a fake language that I can't read, covering text in a language I can read, just to provide homework on said book that wasn't provided the first time around. I shouldn't need an ebook conversion to provide pivotal story context in the form of a video game collectible that makes me lose immersion because I can't even get the full story outside of stinkworm business.
Also, previous chapter recaps. I like them. It saves my hippocampus the work. Tapping on words and concepts made for this fictional world provides context of what that thing is. You'd think that's the actual book part's job, but I digress. I wish Manhattan was real. It's still not winning me over as my preferred pastime over traditional gaming, but I admire it as a solid, single-player experience, unique from all else a video game system has to offer. And here's download play, because believe it or not, there's a transmissionable disease out there worse than a common cold. This was almost a competent package by itself, but who the hell is the target audience for a local-only temporary download of a demo of a book?
You know what I love? DS download play, especially for books. Mario Party, no. I want to read with my friends. Wait, no, I can't even, because they only get a few pages. You know what has more literacy in it? My Spit. And it's probably more entertaining.
Okay, look, so what I'm getting is, you hate ebooks. I'm convinced you just hate reading in general, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of the physical copy, but I respect the medium. It's not my thing, but I respect it. So you know what? We should put 2 and 2 together.